Hey,
Well, hey,
hey.
good morning there, girlfriend.
Good morning. I'm ready to just totally talk premenopausal, menopausal because I'm going through some shit, girl, and I need your advice.
Absolutely. From the old lady, I will help you whatever I can. I am in menopause, so I have a little bit more experience than you do, but yeah, it's quite a journey. And there's stuff that goes on in our bodies that, I mean, I know my family never talked about. Like I and I stopped Googling stuff. I now use Chat GPT for everything because Google brings you down. You can ask one thing, and all of a sudden you think
You
you've got
got
fucking
cancer. You got
cancer.
cancer. You got
Yeah, exactly. Like call 911, you're dying. Like what the fuck? So I started using Chat GPT because it's not. It just gives you the answers. I mean, and then of course it says like seek medical advice if you need to, but at least I can go
no
down.
Chat GPT for me, girl, or Google, because I'm just a hot mess and I am happy to share my journey.
Yeah,
Absolutely, because I know exactly what you mean. Oh my gosh.
yeah.
No, every symptom I have is cancer.
It's
I got
crazy.
cancer
So
growing in me or I got AIDS. I mean, and that's okay if I do. I mean, people are struggling with that right now, and I'm not taking that away.
yeah,
That is a hard diagnosis to get, but it's just, it's exhausting, especially as in our premenopausal or menopausal bodies.
yeah. Yeah, for sure. And the thing is, like, I don't know about you, but I don't go to the doctors unless it's like I have to be on my deathbed. I don't want medications. I don't want to be on medications. I want, the healthiest approach to life. Although, like, when I say that, it's funny because I feel like I'm speaking out of both sides of my mouth. I don't exercise. I drink wine like a freaking fish. Like but there are certain things that I will do for myself more in a holistic way. I just don't want to be tied to pharmacies. I just think that our country, they're fucking killing us with all of the prescriptions and food, and like that's another rabbit hole that we can go down. But
True.
I've been trying to combat this or combat symptoms in a more everyday, like accept it, and if I can do this, that'll make the journey a little bit easier. But
Yeah.
I think you and I, we briefly talked about like our journeys, and it seems to be very different. So
Very different.
very different. Do you want
Okay, so well, let me ask you this,
yeah.
okay, before we get into all my because you guys, my craziness is craziness, and they say it's typical but not typical. But for you, Renee, I really, really want to know, like, what was your because you're in the actual menopausal state right now.
Mhm.
So, what was your premenopausal journey like? I mean, I'm just for the audience to listen and hear. I'd love to
Yeah.
know, what it was like for you, and what were some of like those moments of like, oh shit, is this really happening to me?
It's funny because I didn't recognize it until I was in it. And
Right.
for me, mine was mostly the psychological, I could
Mm.
get pissed off at a drop of a hat. My patience looked like I lost it. So, and I'm also Italian and Portuguese, so I can go from 0 to 60 pretty damn.
I get it. Are you there? Maybe she went away.
Yes.
I don't know if she paused. Oh, there you go. I think you may have
Yep.
paused for a second. You were talking about you were getting 0 to 60 in just a
0
second.
to 60, it's, that can be my, my personality, but I didn't realize that that could also be, a symptom of perimenopausal and going through that. I had an easy, other than the emotional factors, which I don't want to downplay that because that can be, pretty
It's
profound.
hard.
I didn't realize, okay, crying, I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm pissed, I'm like, so for people to be around me and go like, whoa, like, who is this woman? They just thought this is who I was. And I just thought that's who I was until I
Mm.
started like, oh God, wait a minute. This has got to do with my hormones and what my body's going through. So I had that, but I was fortunate in the fact that literally, I don't know, maybe I want to say 46, 47. I don't pay attention, and I'll be 55 this year. So put that into perspective. That's when I think I started with the like sporadic periods, would miss a month. And of course, as women, don't we get like, wait a minute, I couldn't be pregnant. Right? Because my brain doesn't think I'm not that old. Like I'm still in my youthful stage. Maybe I'm pregnant. So here's me taking freaking pregnancy tests. And thanking God.
Like, what if? Oh, right? Shit.
Because at the time, older teenage daughters, I'm like, I can't even fathom that. Right. But luckily, I was not prepared or wanting to have more children myself. So, but I didn't realize, oh God, I'm on the other end. I went from that to now like Golden Girls. Like now I feel like I'm menopause. What? Like, and then all of a sudden my period stopped, which I was like doing that major happy dance because I had horrible menstrual cycles. And I feel so bad because it seems like I've bequeathed that to my daughters and having terrible periods. But then it just stopped. So I was grateful for that. Right. That was like, okay, good. Now I don't have to worry about, I can wear white whenever the hell I want. I don't have to worry about tampons, maxi pads, multiple, like sleeping at night, bleeding through, like all of the craziness that, I had to go through. So that went away quick. And then for me, it's the body change. It's like my waist went from down there to up here and became like roly-poly.
I'm scared.
Oh, get scared. It ain't pretty. I'll tell you that much. It just happens. Like you wake up one day and I don't know why it went up and my mental belly is a real thing. My hot flashes. I live with this. This is my go-to. I take it everywhere. I have one in my office. I have one upstairs. I travel with it. You never know when it hits, those hot flashes, night sweats. Do you want to just like rip the covers? Like, so that stuff is what, I went through. But
at what point did you know like that you were on the other side? Because you said, because it sounded like you were tracking like you were in your 20s. You're like, oh, let me take these pregnancy tests. Yeah. Oh, let me make sure. Oh, my cycle is off. So at what point mentally did you just sit there and say, oh crap, I'm on the other side?
When all of a sudden it totally went away. I went, oh my God, I really am old. Like that was my concern, was for me, that triggered me going, oh, I'm old now. Right? Like that part of my life is done. And it was a bizarre, it is because we think, I do feel now that I've been through it, I do feel you're as old as you think you are. Right. So age is just a number. But when it first hit, it took that emotional journey going like, okay, I'm old. And then I went, no, I'm not. Like, okay, so my body is changing. Big fucking deal. Like, you're still the same person. You still have the same energy. You still have the same outlook. But I definitely do things that try to keep me youthful, knowing that, I'm on the other side. Granted, I plan on staying here until I'm about 100 or 105. Yeah. But, I have no intention on going anywhere anytime soon. So kids, don't worry. I'm going to fuck you for a long time. But, it's bizarre when you think about where we are. And for me, like now going through it, it's been 7 years, I think, something like that. So, and, granted, the mood swings have, kind of those have pretty much stopped.
Is it still the Italian in you, or is it like done?
Done unless I'm driving and we have some asshole, or I'm in the supermarket and like people take too long. Like, I think that's just me. Hot flashes have subsided. I have found stuff that works that I find that works for me.
What's something, I mean,
belly.
just like for the audience, like we're not doctors at all. We don't know shit about
Yeah,
men,
no,
but
no.
give us something that you have found that has worked. I'd love to hear.
So it's interesting. And you're very well aware of Bella Grace, and there's that collagen elixir and the Bella Trim. It's a natural plant-based weight management capsule. So I've never taken like diet pills. I don't like go on diets. I eat pretty well. And like Monday through Friday, I eat really well. I've noticed that
Monday through Friday, Saturday and Sunday is for other.
Oh, it's my cheat. That's my cheat. Now, when I say I eat well, I'm also definitely fueled by Cabernet. So like there's certain things that I will give up, but that ain't going to be one of them. So, but knowing that and knowing that as I got older, my metabolism like stopped.
Yes.
I can't eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yep.
Like normal people. Like, so now I'm down to 2 meals a day. And I'm not doing it to starve myself, but I need to watch what I'm doing.
Since you don't exercise, you have to cut a meal, because at our age, you have to either exercise so you can eat or cut a meal. Like
exactly.
It's a give and take if you want to keep somewhat your weight.
Right. Yeah. And now, I mean, I have just started, I can't even say exercise. My oldest daughter's getting married next year. And this right here, like I cannot be in pictures with that flab. So for appearance purposes, isn't that so vain? But I just own it. That's why I'm now doing like push-ups and I don't know, whatever those little bands are. I don't know. So anyway, but that's the only exercise, right? So yes, so I have to give something up. And I've found that the collagen helps with the agita, the bloatingness that I would feel all the time. That went away. With menopause, we end up with thinning hair. Of course, as we age, the wrinkles, the energy levels. So that helped with that. Again, we're not doctors. This is what helped me. And then the Bella Trim helped curb my appetite. So it just helps me eat less.
So you can skip that meal and still
I feel fine.
Full.
Yeah. Like, so I do that, kind of intermittent fasting, where I don't eat in the morning. I wait until lunch. And then my lunch is this fabulous protein shake that, I love. Now, granted, you and I both sell the Bella Grace and we love it. But it was interesting. I had a conversation. I interviewed a doctor who specializes in women's health, and she recommends both the elixir and the Bella Trim to her patients. So that validated what I was going through and, helping with, keeping you hydrated all over, because that's important, because as we go through menopause, we start drying up.
Yes. And I know with the Bella Grace, it has a patented trademark ingredient called cat's claw.
Yeah.
And this is something that isn't really talked about a lot, but Bella Grace has that patent on it. It has the doctor who created it. And the stuff is amazing in and out. And it has all the benefits that you need for that inflammation that's going on in our bodies during this time. And it's just crazy. So thank you for sharing that those are things that work for you. What kind of protein shake are you drinking? Just tell us that.
Okay. I'm obsessed with it. And I tell everybody about it. I found protein shakes that don't fill me up, but I was drinking them. I know, but I was drinking them because I thought they were healthy and good for you, right? Same thing with the collagen. People take that freaking collagen powder.
It's not the same. It's not the same, people.
Right? So I don't sell the protein shake, but I will share. So I use the 310 protein shake chocolate. I buy it on Amazon. Okay. I mix that with 8 ounces of the vanilla almond milk that has the 30 calories per serving. I add in 6 frozen strawberries, a tablespoon of flaxseed, and a tablespoon of chia seeds. Mix that up in my Ninja blender. I will tell you, it's filling. I'm satisfied. I love it.
Good.
Once in a while, I might have a piece of fruit with lunch, but I have that, and that takes me to dinner.
Awesome. That's great. That's really, really great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Super healthy. Everyone should check it. I mean, I love it. It's a great meal replacement. So thank you, 310 Nutrition, and feel free to sponsor our podcast. No kidding.
and we will be drinking one on the next podcast. Light. We're full of it. Anyways, okay. So fast forward where you are now. What advice do you want to give all of us that are still in the midst of it? Like we're just going through hell. So what do you want to tell us?
When you notice something, say something. Like talk to somebody, talk to your physician. Like a lot of things that we go through, we just like, okay, we go through it, like we said, in silent. We're like, all right, maybe this is normal. And we don't really explore it. At least I don't. I typically will keep it all in. But even now, 7 years into it, I'm experiencing more. And the dryness and the pain is real. Like,
that's what I was going to ask you. Like, what's that one thing that is uncomfortable to talk about where you are now that you wish you wouldn't have been so silent?
Pain down there during sex.
Okay. And that's why we get that stigma that we don't want sex. We do want it.
Yes, it just hurts.
There's things going on and we don't know who to talk to because it's awkward. It's embarrassing. Like, okay, what am I searching? What is my Google symptom?
Exactly.
What should I ask them?
Right. And now, okay, I got to add this stuff to cart. And then, my daughter sees it. Or
what if it?
Right. Tony sees it. Like, I know I could. And I love Tony. And I know
these things are awkward to put in.
It's awkward.
Right, Renee? Because you have to do these before you have sex. So it's almost like a man knowing he's going to have sex tonight and take a Viagra. For us, we have to put this gel inside us thinking we may want to have sex. Not sure if we're going to, but if we push it, our men won't say no. But it's an awkward, it's like you have it sitting there. You're like, hold on, let me go to the bathroom.
Yes.
Pause. Yeah.
So that's where, and this is recent. Like I never had a problem, never. And now all of a sudden it's like, oh man, like now I got to pay attention to this because, of course we still, like you said, we still want sex. And
when we want it, it's like even better than it was 10 years ago. Right.
Yeah.
Like, I could make myself in 2 seconds, bam, and then get another one in 2 more seconds.
Yeah.
That's how good it is. But getting there.
Yeah. It's just, it takes a little bit longer and it takes a little bit more effort, which I'm like, that's bizarre.
And it's hard to talk about. It's really, really hard.
I haven't shared it with anyone.
And you don't want to go to the doctor and be like, so I think I'm dry and I think that I'm having a little bit of pain. Is this cancer?
Right, exactly. So it's I want to know and I want to fix it, but I know it's so I probably should go see the doctor and just ensure rather than me just Googling or chat GPT my symptoms and self-diagnosing and, but I always like to try things at home first and see if these work. And then if it doesn't work, then I'll step it up versus just going to the doctor, waiting for an appointment and all that other baloney. So, but that's the stuff that, you hear women dry up, but you don't really know much about it or know what to do about it. So
and then there's that stigma though that we really are old and we don't want sex. Like women are sitting around talking about oh, I don't want him near me, and men are now cheating. Right? That's not what we want.
No,
it's not that. It's just it emotionally and physically just is God, it's like a switch turned off.
Yes, it is a switch turned off. It's like all of a sudden I look different. My insides are different. I feel different. It's just a weird thing. I still want it. Still love Anya, but it just takes a little time to get there.
And we would love to hear from our audience too. If you want to private message us, please do. But in the comments, this is called Silent No More. As women, as midlife women, we don't want you to be silent. We want you to openly feel free to be like, oh shit, I'm going through that too, and I haven't went to the doctor yet. Or,
Yeah.
I'm experiencing that. Do you guys have a recommendation on a gel that you're using, or an estrogen cream, or a pill, or what is it that you're taking? Or these pellets that we keep hearing about?
Right.
How many of you have tried it, and are they working?
Yeah.
And what changed downtown
Yeah.
when you started taking them, right? Because these are things that we have to talk about more.
Yeah.
This is our life. This is our midlife. Our midlife is beautiful because we know who we are, what we are, and what we want. But a lot of shit is changing on the in, like you said, Renee, on the inside and outside.
Yeah, for sure. But, and I love that you asked that, because when you go to the doctor, they're usually, not all, but maybe I should go for a whole, more of a holistic doctor, but they just like will write a prescription. Oh, you need this.
Yes.
And here you go. And I don't want to
More
do
hormones,
that.
more hormones.
Right. And I just don't want to do that. I don't want to get into the HRT, but granted, I'm not an expert on any of this, but I want some, easier solutions to, these symptoms. So yeah, if somebody's got things that are like, oh, this works.
I know. Cause I think that like is a really good lead in to my story.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's no easy solution for what I'm going through. And I think you said it so perfectly. Like, we go to the doctor and it's like Band-Aid after Band-Aid.
Yeah.
And that's my story, Renee.
Yeah.
That is what has happened to me in I'm 47. So I got a couple of years behind Renee. So she started having a lot of these things happening to her at the same time. For me, this started 2 years ago. So, and I was a late bloomer. So really, I shouldn't be having these. It started with longer periods for me. And like you said, yours were very horrible. Mine were, gut wrenching, but I'm like, okay, girl, you got 7 days. You can do this.
Right.
And you just mentally are like, I'm on day 3. This is going to be the worst. Tomorrow, I'm going to wake up with a headache and I'm going to love it.
Yeah.
You really have to psych yourself up when you have heavy, heavy periods. Well, it started with that. And then it started going longer. And then it was 8 days. And then it was 9 days. And I'm like, it's not ending. It's not ending. And then it was 10. And for 4 months, I was having 10-day periods every 10 days. And then one day, you guys, I started and it just did not go away. I bled for 9 months. It took me 3 months to go to the doctor. Tis Renee and I are a little same. But again, because my period had been changing, I didn't think it was horrible. And I wasn't bleeding severely. It just didn't stop. And it would look like it was going to stop and then it wouldn't. And I'm just like, okay, just go to the doctor, Then I started Googling shit. And of course I have cancer and I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to die, and you feel like it at this point because now my energy levels are going down because it's been 3 months. So I go to him and he's like, hey, we're going to put you, I'm going to do an exam, all this stuff, we'll do a transvaginal ultrasound. If any of you have had a transvaginal ultrasound, it is uncomfortable. It's embarrassing and it's a little painful. And of course, it says your uterus is perfect. What's the word that they use? Unremarkable. Okay. I had an unremarkable uterus. I'm like, okay. So he's like, we're going to put you on birth control. So here we go. And I'm like, I don't want to be on birth control. Like, I am 45 years old. I already did that birth control thing. I'm fixed. My tubes are tied. My his little tubes are tied. Like, I don't want this. So he's like, just try something so that so your period can stop or you're going to become anemic. Okay. So at this point I am anemic and he puts me on birth control. My periods get 100 times worse. Now it's a month later because he wanted me to try it for a month. Come back. I'm like, it's worse. Now I have blood clots the size of my hands. The pain is severe at this point. I am working a full-time corporate job as a national director. And so I'm having to be presenting and on video calls all day as I am just sitting behind screen, literally bleeding to death. Okay. My exhaustion level was like from here to there. The only thing that did save me was the Bella Grace collagen, because it got me through the day. And unfortunately, coffee, which caffeine will make your periods worse.
Mhm.
So I go back to him and I'm like, see, I don't want this. He's like, okay, then well, your transvaginal said it was fine. So you know what? The only way I'm going to really be able to see anything is I need to do a heteroscopy. That's like where they go inside your uterus and look inside with a camera. Okay, well, now he tells me, oh, and by the way, you need $4,000 for me to do this up front. So this is month 4, and he tells me I need $4,000. And I'm like, yep, no,
Wow.
that ain't gonna work. So let me save some money and I'll get back to you, sir. This is how
Oh my
fucked up
God.
our medical system
Yeah,
is for a
yeah.
woman bleeding to death. So now he's just throwing pills at me to try to get me to stop bleeding. I was able to save some money. I called the lady and I said, can I give you this much and then make payments on this much? So I was able to do that. This is month 6 now. Okay, ladies, month 6. Now at this point, I can't eat and I am bloated like I'm 6 months pregnant. Now they start to think that I'm having kidney issues because all my kidney, my creatine, all my kidney levels are going to shit because I can't eat. I'm bloating. I'm constipated. I'm in severe, severe pain. And when I say bloated, I mean, I look like I was 6 months pregnant. I'm like, what is going to get? Again, I start Googling. Okay. And I'm dying. I know it. And it feels like I'm dying, you guys. So if you're having this, you're not alone. Like,
Right,
it
right.
does. You feel so alone. And you guys, I didn't tell anybody. My CEO, who I reported to directly, I told her kind of what I was going through, and she was somewhat sympathetic, but didn't fully understand because I couldn't like explain everything. Like,
Mhm.
this is so awful. And I couldn't take off off of work. We had a huge conference. It was our very first conference. We had like 200 people show up, and I'm on stage 90% of the time and literally felt like I was going to die. 8 months later, he finally gets to get inside me. Come to find out that transvaginal that I had in between time, because I had so much stomach issues, I was going to the emergency room. My blood pressure skyrocketed. My kidneys started to shut down. My stomach could not eat. I could not eat, you guys. I would take a bite and automatically feel like I was going to throw up. I could barely keep and stay hydrated at this point. So every time I went to the emergency room, they were giving me IVs and doing CT scans. Of course, CT scans, they were saying different things. I ended up having a hiatal hernia, and then I had to go and have a colonoscopy and a endoscopy because of the stomach issues that it was causing. I ended up having gastritis, a small little ulcer, and a hiatal hernia. I had no polyps, thank God. But I had, when they did the CT scan, they saw a little tiny, he told me that it was a little tiny submucosal fibroid. And I was like, hey, could that be causing all this? And he's like, no, absolutely not. That could not be causing all this. Well, now he's inside me and he sees a tumor growing. I had a tumor growing and I had 2 fibroids. One of them was in the back of my uterus growing on the outside, which was pushing on my colon. So
Oh,
that's where the constipation came from. And that absolutely, fibroids do cause severe bloating and pain, you guys. Tumors, if you have any tumors in your body, you are going to probably know it. So listen to your body and pay
yeah.
attention to it. And I rewind. I wish that I just would have fought a little bit more because I just kept listening to him. So fast forward now to this moment, I am going through the same exact thing. I started to do what you did, Renee. Like, I was like skipping periods. So right after he yanked out those fibroids and that tumor, cut them out. They weren't cancerous, thank God. And all 3 of them were not. You guys, immediately, it was like I was a changed freaking person.
Wow.
Woke up
No.
and I was like cured, but I still had the lasting stomach issues. It took me a year to finally get my stomach back to normal. It was horrible. And sometimes my stomach still isn't like the same, but it is better. So right after that, I didn't have a period for 9 months. I was like, this is it. This is it. It's going to happen.
Yep.
I thought it was done. And I go to the doctor, have my physical, and he's like, if you do start your period again, you're going to have to start all over. And I was like, okay. I go home a week later, I start. But it was light. It was normal, a little bit heavy towards the end. And I was like, I'm normal again. I'm normal again. It was like a hallelujah. Okay. And this happened for the last year. 4 months ago, they started getting longer and stronger and worse again. And I'm like, no. I cannot do this again. 3 months ago, I started bleeding and haven't stopped. Yep, it happened again. And I knew, I was like, I have fibroids again. I have fibroids. I know it. That's what it is. It is fibroids. So I go to a different doctor this time, and I'm like, no bullshit. This was like 3 weeks after I started bleeding and didn't stop. I was like, oh no, I'm not waiting 3 months. I'm going. And I'm like, no bullshit. You're going to do this. And I started telling her what she was going to do because I was like, number one, don't do a transvaginal. They don't really tell me. They don't even see my ovaries. Number two, don't waste your time doing a CT scan on me. And number three, if I start to have stomach issues, we're just going to yank this baby out. Okay. She's like, okay, yes, ma'am. my
that's the best way to be. You know what? We have to be our own advocates. And that's the biggest thing, that us women need to do our own research. We know our bodies. We know when something isn't right, and advocate for ourselves.
Renee, if I could have learned anything, it would have been besides the money that delayed me because I didn't have $4,000 just laying around. I should have pushed for more. Like, something is not right. And they probably would not have listened, but I knew this time, like, I knew what you needed to do. So unfortunately I had to learn from that, but I was like, this is what I wanted. She immediately scheduled me an MRI, you guys. And I was so grateful and thankful because I was like, yes, she's listening to me. She's like, but in between time, let me put you on this birth control just so that you could stop bleeding, because the bleeding this time was way different and very, very heavy. So I went from like little fluffy me to just, I couldn't even lift my head in the morning. And so I got an MRI, and it turns out that I have adenomyosis. I know I'm not saying it correctly, and maybe we'll put a little tag here so that you guys know what it is. It's ADENMYOMIS. And basically your uterus lining starts growing on the inside of your uterus and creates little cysts on the inside of your uterus. And then it thickens your endometrium. And so it's like being pregnant or having contractions all the time, and it causes severe pelvis pain. My pelvis pain has been over the top, unbearable. Like a heating pad is my best friend. Wow. Of course, when you start to have these kind of issues, other issues happen. So I now have cysts popping up everywhere in my body, from my breast to my wrist. I have cysts on my endometrium, on my ovaries. They're just everywhere. And of course, now I feel a lump in my breast, and I'm like, oh my gosh, here we go.
Right.
I have a rash that has been on my left breast that will not go away. So if I did not advocate for this, I don't think anybody would even care. Like, no, you're going to get to the bottom of it, and I need to know what it is. I don't want I have been on 6 different creams and antibiotics. They put me on antibiotics. They put me on a steroid pack. They put me on steroid creams. They've put me on all these things. And my left breast is like 10 times larger than my right. Well, they're like, oh, you just have fibrocystic. Okay, great. That's fine. But why is this rash not going away? Can this rash be related to cyst? No, that typically is not a symptom. Okay, well then what is it?
What is it? Right.
Like, hello.
Yeah.
So I now have stitches all in my breast because I've had to have skin biopsies, because I want to know if I have dermatitis just on my left breast. I want to know what it is from. Funny story. My sister, when she was pregnant, she developed a allergic reaction to the hormone that her body was producing while she was pregnant. She was actually allergic to her own hormone. Wow. And had a breast rash. It was like on her chest into her breast, but it was on both of them and on her thing. But that's what ended up happening, is that she was allergic. I'm like, fine, tell me what it is. So I am still in the waiting period, but long story short, I have to have a hysterectomy if I do not want to go on birth control. The birth controls that she put me on put me in the hospital. And I was bleeding like through a pad and tampon every 30 minutes for 6 hours straight. I could not lift my head. I could not lift my arm. Like, to do this was the most painful thing ever. So the only way for me is to just get rid of it. And everybody I've talked to says, you know, there's great things about it. You're going to be happy. So I'm going to get kicked into that celebration stage a little early, Renee. But that's okay. That's fine. I just think of these young women that are diagnosed with this disease, which they don't know a whole lot about, because ultimately on a MRI, your uterus kind of looks misshaped and it's thickened. So they just say it's compatible with adenomyosis. But the only way for them to really determine if it is that is they have to cut your uterus to examine the inside of it, you guys. So as a young woman who's having severe pain, severe bleeding, wants to have a baby, you either have two choices: to be on birth control or a hysterectomy if you want the pain to stop. So she might have to have a hysterectomy, and come to find out they cut it open and it was something else. And now she's lost her chance to have a kid. That's just so emotionally draining. And we're always having to be silent. Like, as women, we just have to just, you said in the beginning, Renee, like, I thought I was 20. I'm just going to take birth control. And you don't think, why am I wanting to kill somebody? Maybe it's just me, or why is this bleeding happening and it's not stopping? It could be so many reasons. And then they tell you, your uterus is unremarkable. It's amazing. Don't worry. But you're still just bleeding. It could just be perimenopausal bleeding. And if we can't get it to stop, you might want to consider. But he never thought to do an MRI. He wanted to look inside me. And then when he did, he was like, they're fibroids. Well, chances are I could have had the endometriosis then with fibroids. That's why it never went away. You just, and God forbid if a woman has endometriosis, even with a hysterectomy, because that's what I was scared I was going to have, your pain will still remain even with a hysterectomy.
Gosh.
It's sucky. And Renee and I were talking about silent no more, because we just don't talk about these things. And then, Renee, you expressing like the vaginal dryness and this, well, on my MRI, it said atrophic menopause. And I'm like, that means that it means vaginal dryness. And I'm like, I have that? No, I don't. I do. I'm like, husband. I went to him and I was like, husband, do I still get wet? I wanted to make sure. But when you're going through that much pain and your hormone levels are going, probably when I was laying on that table bleeding out, I probably did not have any extra secretion. So I still don't have an absolute problem in that area, but I feel it coming. And my breast issues could totally be hormonal. Because your breasts do change as you're going. They look different. They change a little. But with it just being one breast, I'm like, no, tell me exactly what it is. I'm tired of you just saying, here's a pill or here is this. I want to know exactly what it is. Well, that is where I am right now.
Like you said, be silent no more. People don't talk about this. There's no like crash course, right?
There's no handbook.
There's no like people. This needs to be taught. Like, and so, like even our kid, like your daughter-in-laws, my daughters, women need to know like this stuff can happen to you. it can be an emotional roller coaster. It can bring
Yes.
women to even that state of depression or
Ah,
wanting to pull
oh,
back from activities. You feel like this, I don't feel right. I don't look right. I'm going to sweat. I'm going to bleed. I'm going to do that. Like they don't want to go out of the house. Like
no,
this
you
can,
can't.
you
You can't
can't, you
go out
can't
of the
physically
house, and
leave. Right.
it's severe, severe depression.
And you don't want to, it's not like we're going to go, oh, you know what? I can't go to that because I'm bleeding like crazy. And then people will be like, okay, like you said,
Like,
your
girl,
former
we all
boss,
do.
like, right. There's that level of, like you said, your former boss, like, okay, you kind of get it, but not
You're
really.
like, girl, we
So must
all
go
bleed. Get
on.
over it and get on the call.
Exactly. So yeah, that's why it's important for women to recognize and share and know that you're not alone with whatever you're going through, right?
Yeah.
But definitely curious about what others have, gone through and if there's any.
Oh,
Yeah.
Renee, I thought of a really good story because I have boys and I have daughter-in-laws and you have daughters, but I have sisters. And
Yeah.
I thought of a really good story. It's so sad, but this is the stigma that we live in. And it's like, God, you guys, we're not in the 1800s for crying out. My baby sister almost died giving birth to my niece, literally hemorrhaged. Okay. Like, I mean, she is so traumatized, but you guys, literally, I don't know the exact, but like it detached and caused her to hemorrhage. My
Oh,
mom said that when she pushed, she saw a large amount of blood just gush out. And she was like, God, that doesn't seem, because she's watched all of us give birth. So she's like, that doesn't seem right. And immediately they're like, we need to give you a C-section. And they just rushed her back, cut my niece out, and gave the baby to my brother-in-law, Jason. Here you go. And then they were stuck with this baby, like, okay, well,
yeah.
where's my sister? Where's Jamie? They're in the back and it's code blue, code blue. She's literally bleeding to death. Well, they said the likelihood that if you have another baby, this will happen again. She completely was traumatized because we had lost our dad a couple years previous to this.
Mhm.
So the fear of not being able to be there for her baby, she doesn't want to have any more kids. And they wanted to have more. And people are like, hey girl, when are you gonna have another one? When are you gonna have another one? They don't know. And so she's just like, no, we're good with one.
Right.
Like, girl, I almost died. I
Hmm.
don't want any more. I won't have any more because if I have one, I'm gonna die. But these are the kind of stories that they're out
Yeah.
there. And God forbid if one of my daughter-in-laws went through that. And and what it does to a relationship. You do want more kids, or like the vaginal dryness. Like, how do you teach your 20, 30-year-old daughter or daughter-in-law, like, this could happen, and
Right.
this is what it might do to your marriage. This
Hmm.
is what it might feel like or look like. It sucks on the relationship part too.
Yeah, it can definitely be tough. And you mentioned, your sister. I'm so sorry to hear that. But it dawned on me that in society with young couples and young women, right? Whether it's a new marriage or they've had one kid, and we're always going, oh, so when are you having a baby? When's going to be the next one? Like we don't
I
know
do
what
that to my
somebody
I
else.
do that to my boys, just so you know.
Right. And so I've been guilty. I've said to women who, are somewhat newlyweds going like, okay, so when? But we don't know. They may be having difficulties in conceiving, or it could
Conceiving,
be medical,
yes.
and we need to have that empathy and maybe not ask. Let them share if and when they want to share their journey. Have no expectations on, what this process is going to look like for women, because we're two people and our journeys are completely different, right? Um, you just don't know. So hopefully
And
that.
we're not cookie cutter,
No.
Renee. Like you said, we're so different and our bodies are so different. So when you hear another woman tell you what she's going through, don't downplay it for her,
Yeah.
because what you experience that triggers in here will trigger differently for her. And our pain thresholds are very different, and you may have been able to handle advanced endometriosis gracefully, and maybe you didn't have as much pelvic pain.
Yeah.
But me over here, my pelvis pain is so bad, it feels like I'm dilated to 6 constantly, and that the baby is coming out of my ass. Okay. So don't tell me like, oh, girl, you'll be fine. The pain is just a little. No, because that may have been for you, but it's not just a little for me.
Yeah.
And I think as women, sometimes we do that to each other because we're like, we want to be tough and we want to be, I don't know. We're just like, oh yeah, we all bleed. And yeah, my cramps are bad today. And we downplay it and joke it off. I do. My TikToks are full of being silly and talking about how like hormones suck.
Mm-hmm.
And I tease about having sex with my husband and like all these things. Like I deal with my trauma through my TikToks. But in reality, I would never, ever want to downplay what you personally or physically are going through because it is so different for everybody.
Yeah. But I do think laughter is medicine. And I think that's
It is.
something that you and I definitely have in common. Like, okay, we can, when you laugh about something and you just own it, it is what it is, right? And you can share that I'm happy that comes to us with age.
Yes.
Because
we just don't care.
We just don't care, right? So we could not speak about this. First of all, our journey wouldn't be here 20, 30 years ago. But as young women, right, they don't even talk about, it took us a long time to talk about whether it's sex, it's menopause, whatever, like the way your body changes and stuff. It's important to share.
And I think as young women, one of like the stigmas that you're trying to figure out is like, did I have an orgasm? Did I not?
Yeah.
Like you're going through these stages of age of like, did I just come? What kind? Did I have an internal orgasm? I mean, those are like the fun. And then as you start, then you have kids, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, why is it doing that?
Yeah.
And then you wake up and you think you're 20 still, and you're doing pregnancy tests at 50, and you're like, oh, I'm on that side.
Yeah.
But women don't sit around talking with other women like, was that an orgasm? It kind of felt like this, but it wasn't. I don't know. Yeah. And then fast forward, are you dry?
Right.
I'm dry. I mean, do you have
what are you? Yeah. What are you using? Tell me what that is. Okay, I'll add it to my be. Right? I know.
But it should be.
But it should be.
It should be.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll break down some barriers, and hopefully some women will share, although at least understand and appreciate that these topics do not have to be taboo. This is part of all of our journey, and the more that we share, the more that maybe it could help somebody else on their journey.
Yeah. So the next time you guys see me, let's just do a little, I'm evicting my uterus. So the next time you guys see me, it probably will be gone. It is a little emotionally sad, even though I don't need it. I'm not going to use it again. I'm not going to grow a baby in it. It's losing a body part that has belonged to you since you were in the womb. Yeah. So it is emotional, and that is okay. It's okay to be sad about it. It's okay whenever your periods do stop to just have that moment of, okay, I'm a little sad, but then again, fuck yes, no more bleeding. Right. So I think that's what I'm looking forward to the most is I just need this pain to end. I need the bleeding and the pain to end. And all of those emotions that we feel, it is okay. Like, break your silence. It's okay to feel the way you feel because everybody is different.
Everyone is different. And I'm sure it's going to be an emotional journey as you go through this, but we all love and will pray for you, and you're going to get through this and have a, maybe a happy uterus be gone party.
Next time I'm gonna bring a little hat and be like, oh, we should wear our queen hats here pretty soon there, Missy.
I know.
Uterus queen hat. She keeps hers. I keep mine in the closet. She keeps hers readily available. Go ahead and put that back.
I mean, it's because badass queen, sparkle queen, we're the queen of our own world. So
we are. We absolutely are.
So I hope everyone
we want to be unapologetic. That's why we want to be unapologetic.
Unapologetic, unscripted, unfiltered. This is us. This is our lives. And we're excited that you all are listening. Hope you share in our journey. Stay tuned for more because we are just getting started. We have got so many topics. And like we had said before, if you have your badass journey and you would love to share your journey with us, please message Sierra or I on social, share with us what you would like to share, and even ask questions. If you would like a topic that we can talk about, and we're going to be bringing on some experts and some guest speakers. So stay tuned. This is going to be so much fun, but we love saying that we are unapologetically badass, and we know that we have that within each and every single one of you. So Sierra, you want to close us out?
Have a good day. Have a good day, y'all. We love you.
Y'all. I love that, y'all. And me, I'm like, hey, have a good day. Afangul.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
See, that's why we're so perfect for each other. Have a good day, y'all.
Love ya.
Love ya.